And thanks for joining us. Last night, Ecowas leaders concluded their extraordinary session in Abuja, where they ordered the deployment of its standby force to intervene in the political situation happening in Niger. Let's get to it in terms of the decisions that we're taking. The decision to use military force in Niger is obviously coming at a time when experts in civil society are raising concerns, but here are the key determinations that were made after that summit. First of all, reiterating its strong commitment, as I'm quoting from that document, of an attempted coup d'etat and the continued illegal detention of President Mohamed Bazoum and his family members and also his government, and further considering the condition in which President Bazoum is being detained and held by the military regime there in Niger, and fully aware of what's happening. They're holding them solely responsible for the safety, security, and physical integrity of President Bazoum and also members of his family and government. These are excerpts of what we're taking from that statement or communique by ECOWAS. Then there's also a point that they would uphold all measures and principles agreed upon by the extraordinary summit held in Niger on the 30th of July 2023. They are also underscoring the determination of ECOWAS authorities to keep all options on the table for the peaceful resolution of the crisis. And also there's a point about enforcing all measures, in particular border closures, strict travel bans, and asset freeze on all persons or groups or individuals whose actions actually hinder peaceful efforts aimed at ensuring the smooth and complete restoration of constitutional order. These are some of the excerpts that we're getting. And then we also know that there's a warning to member states who, by their actions directly or indirectly, hinder the peaceful resolution of the crisis in Niger, about the consequences of their actions before the community. And this is directed, obviously, at the likes of Mali and Burkina Faso, which are declaring support for the regime in Niger. Then we also know that there's a call on the African Union to endorse all decisions taken by ECOWAS on the political situation. There's a further call on all partner countries and institutions, including the United Nations, to support ECOWAS in its effort to ensure a quick restoration of constitutional order in conformity with its normative instruments. So we know also about the directive coming through by the president of the ECOWAS Commission to monitor the implementation of the sanctions, and also there's also a directive to the Committee of the Chiefs of Defense Staff to immediately activate the ECOWAS standby force with all of its elements. And that's where we want to be stationed on, because that's what's stoking a lot of controversy. But beyond that as well, they're going to order the deployment of the ECOWAS standby force to restore constitutional order in Republic of Niger. And they're underscoring their continued commitment to the restoration of constitutional order through a peaceful means, as the statement is indicating. We know that the decision to use military force in Niger is coming at a time experts and all civil society groups, and some civil society groups, have warned that such an action will only destabilize the sub-region. Ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, on this show yesterday indicated to me that the party's opposition to the military action being declared by ECOWAS.
Equivocation that we condemn the approach of the Akufo-Addo government. They should have subjected all of these matters to a full-blown parliamentary debate. Look at what is happening even in Nigeria. Despite the president's decision, the Senate is debating these matters and even departing from the president's decision. Other countries are subjecting this major decision to a parliamentary debate, a parliamentary vote for a parliamentary resolution. That is what is done in a democracy. Why is it that President Akufo-Addo, he just jets off and he goes there communicating a Ghanaian position? How did he arrive at that Ghanaian position? Has there been a debate? Has there been national consensus? Has there been a certain bipartisan approach? No. That is why in the statement that the NDC put out yesterday, signed by the General Secretary, we are calling on the President to come back to Ghana, come to Parliament, that's where the people's representatives are. Let's have a debate, and then we can know what really the Ghana position is and what direction we should take as a country. As it is now, it is only the president who purports to be, and you see, the irony is that you are going out there to lecture others on democracy, but in your country, back at home, you are not following democratic tenets. Democracy demands that such major, look, we are talking about deployment of troops. Soldiers can be killed. They are not going to, for a tea party. They are not going to present a bouquet of flowers. They are going to war. Lives will be lost. And then, who is going to fund that war? It is the Ghanaian people, the Ghanaian taxes. Have we discussed this? Have we debated it? Have we been told how much it will cost us? And do we even, the state of this economy, at a time that we are going through a domestic debt exchange program, all of these financial haircuts, pensioner bond holders, contractors are owed over 15 billion cedis, school feeding caterers are owed, NAPCO trainees are owed, everybody is owed. District Assembly Common Fund, MPs Common Fund. Government says they don't have the money. Are we sure we can find money to pay our troops to go to?
Well, Samuel Gujato indicating what they may do in Parliament if that issue camps up on the floor of the House. But we're asking that question. Does Ghana, especially other West African countries, have the mandate to contribute troops? We'll be joined shortly by the experts to help us understand that. First of all, here's a sense of the military strength of Ecowas forces or countries that form a part of the community and what that implication might be. Let's get to it. Isaac Ofeaje is my colleague with a data desk and research desk. We're getting to the figures now, Isaac, but let's deal with what's on the screens right now, looking at the impact of the military coup in West Africa. Just before we get to it, Isaac, take us through the strength of the various militaries that we have, or armed forces that we have across the West Africa sub-region. Isaac, we're having some difficulties hearing you. I'm just asking about the strength of, for instance, countries such as Ghana and others within the West Africa sub-region.
Well, of course, we have active, military personnel who are probably ready as and when we call upon them. But if you do the math, on average, Ghana is hovering around, I think, 14,000. We have about 14,000 active troops. And Nigeria is the highest, followed by other West African countries. But if you look at the West African sub-region and you're talking about active, military, then you are really looking at Nigeria, because if you compare them to Ghana and other countries, they are nowhere to be found. There's a vast difference, significant difference between what we are reporting for Nigeria and then Ghana. For Nigeria, we have an average of over 135,000 active military, in Nigeria, but in Ghana, you're looking around 14,000. And so, if you look at 14,000 and you compare it to, 135,000, then it simply tells you that that's why Nigeria is actually more or less like the last piece in the jigsaw in this whole military, intervention that Ecowas is actually, considering.
How much of a burden will it be in terms of financing for these West African countries and their military forces?
Right. So there's a time that almost all West African countries are facing what we call liquidity crunch, and especially they are at the foreign level, where most of them are not having the foreign exchange, to do other things. And if you look at, on average, you need significant amount of dollars to carry out such military interventions. But what we are learning is that there is actually an external force which is willing and ready to actually power this whole military, intervention, and is one of the superpowers, and they have a lot of dollars. So I'm sure the expenditure will come from that side. But you also have to do the opportunity costs of deciding to participate in this, because we know what has happened to some African countries like Kenya and other places. So if you are actually making a decision to be part, you need to weigh between the pros and cons and make a decision at the moment.
Grateful. Isaac Ofieje joining us there with the latest on this. Just stay on briefly for us, Isaac, because Nigeria's president, who doubles as the chairperson of the Ecowas authorities of heads of states, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, says all options are on the table.
The outcome of this summit is a testament to the power of collaboration and unity. We have reaffirmed our commitment to the people of Niger and to the progress of our entire ECOWAS community. We will continue with that. And you will see from the communique of this extraordinary summit that no option is taken off the table, including the use of force as a last resort. If we don't do it, no one else will do it for us. We remain steadfast in our commitment to supporting Niger in the journey towards peaceful and democratic stability in the country. The road ahead will undoubtedly have challenges, but I firmly believe that with our collective resolve, we can navigate these obstacles and chart a path towards lasting peace and prosperity for Nigerians and ECOWAS. I extend my sincere gratitude to all of you for your dedication and valuable contributions during this extraordinary summit. Your unwavering commitment to ECOWAS and the welfare of our continent is highly commendable.
Well, Bola Ahmed Tinubu there. It's a good time to bring in Richard Kumado, who's a security consultant, joining us now for us to look at it. Isaac J was just walking us through the capacity of these West African countries, and it appears that there's first of all, financial inhibition, something that may seriously challenge the military might of most of these West African countries. For you, Richard, and you've been in the intelligence community, do you see the likes of the Ghana Armed Forces, the Nigerian forces and others having that capacity to move into Niger and to restore constitutional order?
No, so it's basic. You remember where we left off from ECOMOG. One of the challenges we had with ECOMOG was the issue of funding and logistics and mobilization of the troops. The Nigerians have the huge numbers, and so the burden of economic stability and finance came largely from Nigeria. So going back to Niger, unfortunately this time around, when you get to Niger, you are going to be facing the armies of Burkina Faso, Mali, Chad, Algeria, and the Nigerians. And when you ask my brother Fred to tell us the military strength of the West Africa countries, he mentioned only to Ghana about 14,000 and Nigeria with about 100. The crews you are going to meet in Niger will be way more than this number. And that is why, if you listen to the current chairman of ECOWAS, his voice has changed and his position on this matter has changed drastically. It will not be in their interest to go with force, and that is why they need to tread cautiously.
The concern even about who's funding this, and we're glad you're raising that point about the source of funding. Do you sense some level of geopolitics coming in here, that perhaps these ECOWAS leaders may have some external pressure coming through to deploy their forces?
Definitely. Fred spoke about opportunity cost, but in purely security intelligence terms, we call it security economics. You will look at the finance, you will look at the economics impact, and you will look at what happened to your other countries precedents before you take such action. Let not the ECOWAS members be fooled by the West. You remember what happened in Ukraine currently, and you remember what happened in Iraq and what happened in Afghanistan. They may not bring you the funding, and even if they do, they may not survive many of the agenda they will set for you. I think ECOWAS are in a better position to consider their own circumstances and look at where the funding is going to come from. And if the West is going to partner them, they will need to state the position so clearly. Other than that, you walk into the landmine and the funding will not come, logistics and equipment will not come, just like we are witnessing in Ukraine currently. And that is my fear.
And now looking at countries such as Ghana, what position should we be taking on this controversial matter?
To the extent that we are part of the ECOWAS region, and if you consider the map of Niger carefully, any overflow from Niger will end up in Nigeria. And Tinubu is not just interested in laying his gas pipeline through Niger, but Americans are also interested in the uranium pipe they had at Niger. Consider the military base of the Americans in Niger is one of the expensive ones, and it's one of the biggest ones they ever have in Africa. Then again, you are looking at Ghana, where whatever triggers in Nigeria will have a negative impact in Ghana. And so that should be our concern. And even when we are sending in men, what type of men are we sending? But blessed, I can tell you from where I stand, if we send in men, we will come home wounded. And that is why every Ghanaian soldier that will be sent.
And you're saying all of this based on intelligence?
Definitely, because you see, this is not a holiday party you are going in Niger. You are going to face the commandos and the Marines and the special forces from Burkina Faso, Mali. You are going to face the other soldiers from Chad. Algeria has just joined in to support Niger, and the military of Niger. If you look at the support coming from the Wagner group, where they are willing to come to support the Nigerians, the might of the military force you're going to face in Niger will be overwhelming, and it will be a daunting task. That is why, we have people in Ghana who believe that we should support fully. In whichever capacity we are supporting, let's be circumspect, let's be prudent, and let's remember that there will be economic security costs, and there will be geopolitical costs and national security as well.
I see. Now we have Ghana's parliamentarians, of course, opting or asking the president to subject his decision, if indeed agrees with deploying the Ghanaian military, to parliamentary scrutiny. How important will that exercise be?
You see, where we learn the democracy from, they don't just go to war. They subject it to many of these things because of ramifications and because of cost and because of geopolitics and because of national sovereignty. If we don't do it and we keep on taking unilateral decisions, particularly where we have been warned from history that there should be non-alliance, we have to be careful. And I will support everybody who says we should take it to parliament. At least they are the representatives of the people. And let's get involved. Let points be made and let decisions be taken. Even if we do not go with the voices of the masses, that we are going to send troops to Niger, let it be in our records and let it be in our parliamentary records that on this day, on this particular issue, this person said this person said that, and this has been the outcome. It's not about who wins and who loses in this particular matter, because national sovereignty is at stake, national interest is at stake, and national concern is at stake.
The communique from the Economic Community of West African States is pointing out that the envoys, General Retired Abdusalami Abubakar, and also the Sultan of Sokoto were, quote, repelled. They're not willing to sit down and to engage.
You remember the former ECOWAS chairman? During his time, there were 4 coups d'etats. When the Guinea coup happened, he went to Guinea with one of his friends who came to power through certain issues of criticality and sensitivity. He changed the constitution, and there were so many discrepancies around democracy because he hasn't seemed to be one. When he got to Guinea, he was shut up or he was sent back. Tinubu came to power. His results are not yet certified. They are in Supreme Court. Then immediately we hand over ECOWAS chair to him. He got to Guinea and he was sent home. So it is in that vein that when you are coming to these people, these are well-educated, well-trained soldiers. and they know what they're about. They wouldn't listen to you when they sense some level of credibility or you do not really understand what they're saying. But Blessed, is it not worrying that ECOWAS people or ECOWAS leadership were told that there's going to be 5 coup d'etats in West Africa, predominantly not the Eastern Africa, Central Africa, Western, South African or North Africa, but they specifically said West Africa. They never asked the man who said that. The man is a big man. He's in Ghana. They never asked him, what did you know that we don't know? And if you play around security intelligence circles, you will understand the naivety and many of the ineptitude of the ECOWAS.
And we've heard similar pronouncements from even some members of parliament. I recall engaging a member of the Ecowas Parliament, Bejra, who pointed out to us that there may be 2 more coups per the briefing they are getting. Is this something that's well known within the diplomatic circles, or it's just a simple case of having assessed the tension within the region? What's giving grounding to these pronouncements that yourself and the others are making?
You see, within the security intelligence and the diplomatic corps, you get to understand many of these issues broadly. But let's go back a little bit before I answer you directly. When they told them there was going to be 5 coup d'etat, the Guinea-Bissau one was abated. So now the fear within West Africa is that they don't know where the next radar is going to fall. And you can understand that level of euphoria from the current ECOWAS chairman, particularly when he shares border with Niger, and many of his citizens are in Niger because of some level of public safety guarantees that are not achieved in Nigeria. Then to answer the question directly, coup d'etat is not something you wish for or you wish away. When the parameters under which coups prevail is right, and the motivation for the coup plotters is also right, and they meet the powers or the factors that influence them and their power, coup d'etat takes place any day, anywhere in the world. Coup d'etat is not only in West Africa or in Africa something. What happened in Ukraine in 2014 was a result of coup d'etat. So they should open their ears and open their minds wide, and they'll begin to pick the figures and deal with it. One of the antidotes against coup d'etat is good governance. So I have given them the clue. They should pick it from there. But the big man who said there's going to be 5 coup d'etats in West Africa, he's still alive. He's a Ghanaian, and they will need to have a breakfast with him so that he could brief them a little bit more.
So it will happen?
They don't know where the radar is going to fall. And you know, when you're speaking about coup d'etat, it seems to be a taboo in many of these countries. But what happened is that you don't eat your cake and have it again. Many years ago, when Kwame Nkrumah and Co were fighting for the English-speaking countries to liberate themselves from their colonial masters, the Francophone ones went to sleep. And I think they are now waking up to the realities that catch up with everybody. And so let's help them, let's work with them, and let's ensure that they do it properly, that do not destabilize West Africa, for that matter.
And now with the deployment of the standby force itself, how do you see that working out?
I don't think they have the numbers. I don't think they have the financial muscle. I don't think they have the logistics. I don't think they are well prepared. I don't think they have the might against the armies and the commandos and the military forces from Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Chad, Algeria, and the Wagner group. Many of them will come home with wounded legs and many will die. As a result of that, the reason why you need to be circumspect and prudent is that if you trigger that Ghana send 14,000 people or 10,000 people and half of them do not come home, you are going to have an uprising from home. And the very thing you are afraid of and you want to cure will be the very thing you will have to deal with. And that is why the likes of us are signing the alarm bells that, yeah, we will want to go in, but have we really understood what is happening there? And the military might of these 5 to 6 nations we are going to face, they are not going to be a walkover, and it will create many problems for us.
I see. So what's your projection in the next few days? Because we know that force has been activated. Would you still want ECOWAS to use the diplomatic means, or shut that completely and find some external parties to deal with it?
No, I think I'll go with your last suggestion. They will need an external force. You see, when the Americans send their deputy secretary to Niger, she said that they had a frank discussion with the junta in Niger, and they want them not to bring the Wagner group from Russia. The reason being that they want to secure their interests in that country. And I think ECOWAS would need to look for somebody or a new set of people who will speak the language of the military people. But listen, look at what the Nigerians have done. The finance minister they wanted to kill within 48 hours, they made him the prime minister of Niger so that the military face could go up a little bit. Then they appointed 21 people and said that, Prime Minister, you and these 21 people should manage the country, and we, the coup plotters, will manage interior and defense, which is one of the best democracies that you can ever see in the West Africa zone. And it defeats the argument of the ECOWAS that we don't want military people, because these guys are civilians and they are managing the affairs of the country.
Okay, we'll see about that. Thanks for now. Richard Kumando, a security analyst, joining us on the latest situation. Outrage is brewing among residents of Tema as chaotic parking of this transit haulage tracks engulfs the city's major roads, posing some danger to lives and locals there, drivers as well as the pupils of basic schools across the metropolis. Frustration is mounting amongst residents due to the city authorities' inaction, which they believe has emboldened the transit drivers to flout traffic rules and also endanger public safety. My colleague Carlos Caloni reports from the port city of Tema.
As one of Ghana's foremost planned cities, is gradually losing its shine. And some have described the city as a decaying city due to a number of factors, including what you can see in your picture, where you find transit trucks parking by the shoulders of the road here on the Harbour Road, exposing motorists to a lot of danger. Residents have been expressing concerns over this issue and would want to speak to Masaudu, who is a concerned citizen here in Tema, about the situation and what he makes of the situation.
As for this particular road, the transit people have taken over the road and it has narrowed the road. It has made sometimes when you want to cross the road, you don't see your view well. And it has caused one or two accidents on this road, several accidents, not one or two. And because of here, the street light and other things too are not working. When they park, darkness overshadow the area, and robbers too also attack. The zebra crossing too is fade. So even the children crossing, a car has hit children 1 or 2 or 3 times here due to this particular situation. And it seems the authorities are not concerned with it. A number of accidents has happened, which I've seen it with my own eyes. Yeah, I think a tanker driver, a small car, 2 cars, and the road was too narrow. So the other car need to hit the big truck on the road. The other uses the transit cars which are parked on the road. So they've been seeing it, and the police people are all aware because this is their route.
In the evening, it's dangerous. We need to move even if the road is swelling because of the weight. It's spoiling the road. When you talk to them that they should not park here, then they are fighting with you. The Burkina, I don't know whether Burkina or Mali. So you don't need them. And the people are complaining because sometimes when people drop from the car to cross, if you don't watch it well, you hit by a car. It's very dangerous. So we need to remove it here. We need to remove them.
Have you had any experience yourself or anybody hit by vehicle?
Yeah, several times. So nowadays we have some guys who normally stand here with a flag to direct the people to cross the road. Otherwise, they will hit by a car. It's very, very dangerous. In the evening, you can't stand them. All the time, I fight with them. We were very concerned to TMA. We reported to commander, the regional commander. I called them. They came here. Still, they are still parking. You don't know. This is our problem. We need to remove them. It's very dangerous. They are swallowing the road.
This is Community 8, number 3 primary school, right by the road that goes to the harbour. Now, when the kids close from school, they come to this particular bus stop here and they cross to the other side of the road to pick vehicles into their various homes. But right across the road is what you can see, the trucks parked there. And according to residents, this is actually exposing the school kids to a lot of danger.
This transit driver defends the illegal act with this excuse. see, say, some of the thing they pack for here, both times, if you come out for the fishing harbor, they not go give you your money, your advance, your everything, so that if you know, say, you take that thing, if you dey go, you know, say, you dey road top, you dey go. But they go fit come pack you for here. They go say they go bring you money. You go fit pack like 3 days, 4 days, before you go see the agent, you go bring the money for you. If like you load finish, they give you your money, your papers, your details, everything. You do your road top, you don't go park for you. We dey park for you, they steal us. They steal our battery, our diesel. So you know we our problem. Me I dey here like 3 days with that. Park for you. Since Friday now I come for you.
When contacted, the Executive Secretary for Joint Association of Port Transport Unions, JAPTU Ibrahim Musa, attributed 3 core factors as the root cause behind this menace.
As a union, there are a number of factors that are contributing to that situation over there. Key in that is the fact that we do not have a designated truck park for loaded trucks that exit from the port. The GPHA has shown the way by providing a truck park that is mostly used by empty trucks behind the Committee 1 timber market. This is a facility that GPHA made huge investment in acquisition, in putting in the required features and facilities. We have a mosque, we have washrooms, we have the required security, lighting, and all of that. But this is primarily used by empty trucks. Well, that is one reason, the lack of conducive parking space. The second factor from our investigation also has to do with the delay in the payment of advance by cargo owners and their agents. Most of the time, once the cargo is loaded, the transporter has to wait for the advance to be paid, which is part payment for that contract. Now, until the payment is made, we are unable as transporters to officially start the trip. So sometimes you see these trucks parked there waiting to receive their advance. I remember 3 years ago at the sensitization forum that is organized annually by the Shippers Authority for transporters, this issue came up very strongly to the point that as a union we were even pushing for a policy of no advance, no loading, so that before a truck enters the port, at least the driver or the transporter would have given the advance. So once you are cleared with the documentation side and you exit the port, you have no reason to loiter or park at unapproved or unauthorized locations. And then finally, some of these trucks also park there for reasons that I'm sure you might be interested in investigating further, to do some axle with control facilitation. That's how I choose to put it. You realize that in most towns where you have axle stations, you'll find a lot of obviously overloaded trucks parked. Our little investigation shows that these trucks are also parked there because something has to happen at the axle control stations to allow them easy access to go. So these are 3 of the factors that are combining to account for the problem that we see there.
Even though officials of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA, declined speaking publicly, they maintained the drivers have no justification for parking on the shoulders of the road, since this transit terminal, which can take up to 205 trucks at a go, has what it takes to contain the situation. But the Executive Secretary of JAPTU vehemently disagrees.
Within the whole Tema port community, aside the new truck park and the Banda Yard, and the new truck park takes maximum 400 trucks, Banda Yard can do at most 120. Meanwhile, we have over 8,000 trucks registered to do business in the port community. So if at any given time 20% of these trucks are within the port community, you can imagine the size of congestion that we will witness. Primarily, it has to do with the inability of the assembly to provide us with space for parking.
Reacting to the concern, MC of Tema Metropolitan Assembly, Johan Ama Ashite, assured that comprehensive strategies are well underway to end the menace.
Yes, it's come to my attention. Before I took over, we used to have lots more of this long tracks. These are tracks who are actually plying the road, and they belong to different nationals. Most of them are not Ghanaian tracks. Some are from Burkina Faso, some are from Cote d'Ivoire, some are from Togo. So they are multinational, and then based on the protocol, I mean, if you're dealing with them, we have to be a little bit careful. But we're able to meet with GPHA. We're able to get a location around the Loop Oil area, and that took a huge chunk of them. We still have some which are still there. As we speak now, there's another place that we've identified. We have a contractor now who is putting things together to get a place in shape. Once this is done, then we should be able to move the remainder to that particular facility. And after that, we shouldn't have problems. But you see, normally, if they are ordinary tracks, there's a way we deal with them. But these are tracks that are coming from different nationals, and they are here to do business. So if you're here to do business and we have issues such as this with space and all that, we handle them a little bit differently than those who are here and they know the law and the rules, and then we take it up from there. But I'm much more positive that with the new location that we've located around the TTL area and the contractor who has come in now, I believe strongly that within about 2 to 3 months, we should have this thing under full control such that you wouldn't see any truck parked by our roadside around that period. That place could take about 100 trucks, and the trucks we see on the road are 20, 25 now. So I believe that the 100 trucks could all be parked there. And we are still looking for other areas to see if it's possible that in the near future we can have more places that we can dedicate or allocate to trucks of this nature. And I know GPHA themselves too have a new terminal that is also coming up. And when it's finished, I think that this would actually solve and nip the problem in the bud once and for all. But for us here at Assembly, we have a place now, and we are sure within 2 to 3 months, it should be completed. And when it's done, this menace on our road should cease within the metropolis.
Indeed, in spite of these challenges, the MC of the Metropolitan Assembly believes all hope is not lost, and that Tema will regain its shine. Reporting from the premises of the Tema Metropolitan Assembly, my name is Carlos Caloni for Joy News.
And thanks for staying with us here on the Polls on the Joy News channel. We need to talk about the environment because the Executive Director of the EPA, Dr. Henry Kwabena-Kukufu, has ordered for the immediate closure of one of the companies, which is the Non-Ferrous Metal Company Limited at Shire Hills in the Shire Sudoku district here in the Greater Accra region, over the poor environmental compliance nature of the company. An ongoing tour of the facility, which forms part of EPA's measure, is actually to ensure that industries in the country adhere to environmental regulations, and that reviewed, among other things, hazardous working conditions of some of the workers there. There's more in this report for you.
The working schedules that from January coming up to this point, every month, the executive director, I have to move out of the comfort zone. I mean, get to a particular region, work from there for at least 2 days. We've done Ashanti, we've done Western, we've done Central, Volta region, we've done that. Today, we are at Tema and its environs. And we randomly selected the companies to visit. And if you recall, the first company we visited is called Recyclers. They are into recycling of waste materials, particularly used car batteries, lead batteries. They are processing them into various items, including plastic pellets, and then also retrieving or recovering lead, pure lead from those waste materials. Then they are doing also used tires. They are recovering the steel and the iron from the tires, and then making oil out of the tires, and then also carbon powder and carbon briquettes. These are all usable products and value addition to the original waste that we so-called know and call. These guys we visited, and you are witnesses to the kind of organizational activities that they have. First, they've taken HSE very serious, and that is very dear to Environmental Protection Agency. That's health, safety, and environment. Their staff or their workers or the employees are well aware. They've been educated. They've been conscientized as to the safety issues within the plant. Again, what they need to wear, the PPEs, are so adequate for them and all that. They have a very excellent smoke detection and smoke prevention systems. They have excellent wastewater treatment system that they reuse the water. However, we found some few infractions here and there that needs improvement. We've asked them to do that. So coming back again, we will make sure they have perfected all those things and even improve upon what we are so happy with it. The second one was called non-ferrous company, which is also into recycling, the same production line as the first one, and it's quite horrible. You saw it. You weren't happy. I was so much annoyed. The environment they're working in, subjecting the employees to all kinds of exposure, including hazardous substances like acid, like lead, smoke, and all that. So we've called for temporary closure of the facility. And to make matters even more annoying, you don't get anybody to even speak to you on what they are doing and all that. They decided to keep mute and not cooperating with us, answering questions. So we've called for a closure, and then we will bring in our officers on Monday to do what we call environmental auditing. We assess the system and then make prescriptions for them. If they are able to meet such or say, then we will consider giving back their environmental permit. Otherwise, it is provoked as at now.
Also about their workers,
Yes, on the employees, the workers. We've asked that EPA is liaising with the District Public Health Directorate to undertake medical examinations on them, test them for some suspected substances as they've been exposed to. Particularly, you're talking about lead, you're talking about fumes, you're talking about acid and all that. This exercise, the company will have to take up the costs. And if any of the staff, any of the workers is found to have been contaminated or have been injured by any of these substances, the company will have to pick up the medical bill up to the point of the person getting well. This will be a precondition to reopening their company for them. So that is for the second. The third company called Success. Success Africa. Another horrible story. It follows suit, the second one. And to add to their woes, they are producing oil and lubricants out of dirty oil, which of course is a recycling product, which ordinarily is a good thing to do. But then the modus operandi, the way they are working outside compliance limits, is something that we are not happy. We have cause for the close down and also subjecting the employees to medical examination, just as the second. So the first and second, the prescriptions are basically the same. Then the third the fourth company is called Syntec. They are producing metals out of waste metals and all that. And we are being told that their products are spare parts for champagne, the one they use on our water bodies for mining. So the operations is aiding the champagne businesses, which we are so much not in tune with. We are not too happy. The product aside, the conditions under which the workers are working is nothing to write home about. Obsolete machines, everything done manpower, the workers are heavily exposed to hazards, including physical accidents. So we've called for a closure. All these people have been invited to the headquarters to come and show cause why we should not prosecute them, in addition to closure. So we'll be busy next week getting all these people online. Fortunately, our day has not been so spoiled. The last station, the last company being here that we find ourselves. This company has done so well, as you can all witness. Their working environment is, well, you cannot say excellent, but very, very much appreciable. And it is worthy of emulation. They are dealing in waste, e-waste, electronic waste materials, running from mobile phones, computers, used computers, whatever, anything electronic. And they are doing partly for, or mostly for export. They are bringing the needed foreign exchange, providing job opportunities for young, able Ghanaians who want to work. So we are quite happy. However, we observe some few things that we've drawn their attention to, and we will follow up to see to it that they've perfected that concerns, or they've addressed those concerns. So thank you again, the media, for your indulgence, coming around with us and helping us to reach out to the public from on the ground what is happening in terms of environmental management and protection by EPA.
So out of these 5 companies, you can confirm that 3 of them have been, licenses of these companies have been revoked?
Yeah, environmental licenses have been revoked, and that means they cannot operate, and they dare not, because they are still facing the possibility of being prosecuted at the law courts for trampling over environmental laws and engaging in non-compliance.
What would be your word to those other companies watching us live in terms of compliance to environmental regulations?
Well, that is more than a caution. We will reach out to you. You never know when, because myself and my team, we are very much irate. The public needs us, the services of EPA. This is the time you need to spearhead the fight against indiscipline and environmental infractions in the system. Yes, we are all craving for industries. We are all craving for job openings and all that. But then compromising the environmental integrity or quality in the name of job creation will not be. It will help nobody. So we can live hand in hand. We can have the industries running in harmony with environmental management. And with that, it will be a win-win situation. Ghanaians will be the best beneficiaries.
All right. So apart from industries, when it comes to individual level, the vehicles we use and the haphazard burning of things within the society, what is the EPA doing or going to do about that?
Yes, we've done enough of the talking by way of education and awareness creation. And this is part of the strategies that we've been using all this while. People have been asking us to go into full enforcement where we prosecute people, cause arrest here and there. Yes, we are capable and the law allows us. But we thought combining education and awareness creation with the enforcement of the law would be a better strategy to do. Fortunately, through the help of the media, we've reached out to the people for far too long, and we deem it fit to be in action now. Enough of the talking, enough of the caution, enough of the warning. Now it is action now. So if you are found indiscriminately burning used ties, you are candidate for arrest and then prosecution. If you are found burning any other form of material, releasing carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, you find yourself at the wrong side of the law. We are talking about vehicular emissions. Let me be frank that 2/3 of all the vehicles around in the country may not pass emission tests. Strict emission tests, we may not get it. So again, we are trying to tell the general users of vehicles on our roads that very soon EPA and DVLA, we've set the standard. meant to this. You want a gradual approach. Whilst
And we're taking a break here on the polls, but still ahead, we'll be looking at the new season that's upon us in terms of football. When it comes to the English Premier League, we'll talk about that shortly. We'll be right back.
Since Monday, the KMA security officers have enforced its orders to restrict commercial tricycles from operating in the central business district of Kumasi. In the process, over 100 tricycles were impounded, leading to a violent protest by the tricycle riders. On different occasions, the riders blocked major roads in protest against the arrest of colleagues and impounding of tricycles. A fine of 500 cedis has been waived to 134 cedis for the release of the impounded machines. But leadership of the Praga riders says they are not in capacity to guarantee the required counter-signing of documents for the release of impounded tricycles. Saidu Mubarak is chairman of the Praga Okada Riders Association.
The last time we met at the Prempe Hall, I think he told the media that when we come there, he will release the impounded tricycles to us. But as we reached there, it was like we should sign an undertaking, which we, as a leader, you cannot sign undertaking for someone who is outside. So we told him that we would rather plead on him that he should allow us to go and see our members and then come back. Whatever it is, they said we will get back to them. Right.
The Praga operators, after Wednesday's protests, resorted to comply with KMA's directive to restrict their operations as Asawase MP Muntaka Mubarak leads deliberations with the assembly to soften its position. The office of the Asanteman Development Chief of Zongo, Alhaji Abdullahi Ali Bari, has also called the riders to exercise restraint in seeking redress.
And I'm also car how
They have told us their concerns, the issues with KMA and subsequent arrest of some of their members are some of the concerns. I assured them of my preparedness to help them. I plead with them to exercise restraint.
In a
statement, the KMA has assured of its commitment to ensuring effective implementation of the restriction. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Well, the operations of the Okada and Praga riders have been a subject of concern for the travel and tour operators in the country, especially car rental companies. In studio with us now is Yeboah Okran, outgoing president of the Car Rental Association of Ghana, and also Michael Sapon, who's the incoming president for that association. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Let me start off with you, Seth, knowing that you've been there all these years and these issues keep coming up, but where we are now, Praga and of course the Aboya, some people call it, have become, part of the transport system that we have in the country. So what form of policy are you looking forward to in tackling the challenge that you see with it?
Thank you very much. And let me say good evening to your viewers. And I think going forward, yes, like you rightly said, they are becoming part of the transport system. But we from the car rental have the view that there is a space for them. And I think this Okada and Praja all started because of congestions and traffic within the urban cities. Yeah. So if you look at how Accra was designed, somewhere in 1924, we have central business district. So in the morning, all directions are coming to one particular place. That caused congestions and all that. And my understanding, this ring road at the time was a ring road, meaning Accra was center and that was outskirts of Accra. Currently, we think that we have to really look at relocation of some of the terminals. If I said terminals, like a terminal going bus terminals, like New Plant Station, for example, and if you go to Tudu and Kaneshi, those going to the countryside have no business in the heart of the city. So we should relocate them to the outskirts of Accra. That would immediately decongest the city. Once the city is discongested, there won't be need for Okada. Let me give you an example. I was traveling, and for one reason, I've left my passport at home whilst at the airport. I have about an hour. At that time, Okada exactly became what? Relevant. Yeah. But if there's no traffic, I could easily go back and pick my passport, right? So the traffic situation have caused them becoming relevant and gradually are becoming part of our transport system, which I think that they can operate within the suburb. Let's say if you take Okomlemle or Osu, within the suburb, it's because the buses, that is, we are calling for proper structuring of urban transport system, right, that have buses running. Right. So these areas that these buses can go, like the local communities, the Okada and Prajas can operate there, but not on the highways, and cope with that with the market. For example, we are car rental operators, and we drive tourism. We make it possible for people to move around. Right. And on weekends, if you are trying to go to Cape Coast, it takes forever to cross Bujumbura. Why? Because the markets are right at the edge of the roads, and the lorry stations are there. Right. You know, and all these congestions make these Okada and Prajas people strive. Right. There should be economic benefit for them, so there should be a place for them. But I think that there should be proper how do I even put it? Realigning the city and
so that
relocate,
decongest,
and that would deal with our field, because see, wherever you have 5 or 6 people for about an hour, they will eat, they will use the loot, you know. Definitely. So this would decongest, and actually the secondary market would be outskirts of Accra. Yeah.
Okay, Michael, have there been any stakeholder engagements ever since, just to drum home the demands that you've been making over the years?
In terms of
this engagement, yes, precisely.
Well, I mean, my personal experience with the Okada, I don't have any issue of any business that brings income to the youth or to people. But the problem is lack of discipline and lack of regulations is causing all these chaos. And I believe too that indeed, if government is able to set the regulations properly, then they will also be able to do their work. The point is, one time I was driving, and then the Okada guy just came across, caught me just like that, almost had an accident. But then I looked, and I saw the guy, he was just, 30 years old. You know, if there was regulations and all that, how did this guy got a license to drive this Okada on the main road? You know, their lives and everything is also at risk, and the public life too is at risk. I think the KMA, they are doing the right thing, but they need to engage more about the regulation. DVL, how did these people got the license? How are they trained and all that? So they should look into that. By looking into that, I believe that they can tell them how things should be done, and they will follow, because they allow them to exploit, and now they can't be controlled. That is the situation we are facing ourselves now. I remember, I think 2 days ago, they blocked the roads on the central business district, and they didn't want any car to go. So, which it shouldn't have gotten to that point. Anything that we do is start from somewhere, and then the authorities overlooked, and then on, it takes precedent, and it becomes issue.
Where obviously your group is in transition, and you are also working within the transport space, so I believe that there are some challenges peculiar to the group where you find yourself now and looking into the future, since we have the past and present here. And let's start off with you, Seth, in terms of some of the common challenges you have, the issues you've been working on as a group, and what you see the future looking like for the group now that you're in transition.
Yeah. The future, I would say, is very bright, and because without movement, proper movement of people and goods, there won't be any economic growth. Some of the few things that I can be working on has to do with proper classification of car rental operators. If you look at the Transport Act, Section 136, talks about lorry, which referred to these commercial trotros and all that, right? There's really nothing there for car rental operators. The regulations is quite silent. And if you also look at the Tourism Act, it's totally silent on the regulations. So we are calling on government to properly, we have put a lot down, just listen to us, see what we have, and we jaw and have proper regulations. I'm saying this because many a time you see even AMA will stop our members saying that you need AMA sticker. Meanwhile, if you look at the Transport Act, okay, exempt domestic transportation from paying VAT and all that, AirC and all that. But car rental operators, we are using transport to work, but we pay VAT and all that. And the interesting thing is that if you look at the car dealership, whom we buy vehicles from, have been given 3% flat rate of VAT. Meanwhile, if you put all together, the GET fund, we are almost 22%. It's imposed on the car rental. So right now, recently, DVLA issued a communique that some people are abusing the white number plate. Right. The car rental operators use the white number plate, reason being that, there are certain places, if you have the yellow number plate, they say you can't enter the tax and all that, right? For a reason.
So they allow that you use the white.
Yes, and if you look at GRA, we are on different tax regime from the normal commercial, which the Transport Act talks about, right? So DVLA is saying that they are going to give us all yellow number plate. And if that happens, meaning we are going to be burdened with additional taxes because
when you're moving into certain places.
Exactly, because not only that, because those commercial vehicles have a tax regime that they pay. Right. That is what the AMA and whatever collect. They call it income tax. Right. They don't pay VAT. We are paying VAT. We are paying corporate taxes on withholding taxes and everything. Right? So we are looking at proper regulation of our operations or proper classification that would distinguish what we do. And to add to that also, government have done so well when you look at beyond the return, the year of return and all that. Ghana has become a destination of choice. Right. A lot of people come into Ghana, they want to move around, and it depends on car rental agencies to do that. And you find nowhere policeman stop you, didn't even understand what we do. Yeah. Some even don't know.
So they don't have the patience.
They don't have the patience, and it creates that image and all that. So we want proper classification and training, a collaboration from Car Rental Association of Ghana, MTTD, as well as Ghana Tourism Authority, so we can train and educate the public about the role we play in tourism development.
Okay, Michael, since you are coming in now, you'll be taking over the group as the president. How do you intend to work together with your team, the outgoing president, so that you deal with this challenge that you have on the table right now?
Well, I must congratulate my outgoing president. He's been fantastic. He has worked very hard to get the association to this point. Even though he's going, but he's not going, he's still going to work with us. Yeah. Because with unity, we can build the association. The Car Rental Association, as he mentioned, is a very lucrative business that if government support us, we'll be able to thrive, and then visitors and tourists will come and they will find safe and comfort and use Ghana as a place of tourists. Yeah. Now, the point is, like the brother said, our identity, we can't find it anywhere when it comes to car rentals. If you look at the commercial car, the GPRTU, they have identity, and especially, I remember I was discussing with Mr. President when government bought 200 plus cars for GPRTU. Right. Maslog did that for. And because they found their identity in the sight of the government, they are able to penetrate on that. But we, the car renters, we are not. And that is where the problem is. So we need to lobby to the government to find our identity and to make sure that whatever research that we need to do to make government to understand that car rental is a very important part of our...
Even the tourism
Exactly.
flow, yes.
Because in America and Europe, car rental has played major and important role. So it's up to us to inform the government that here we are, this is what we want, this is what we need, support us, and we also will support the economy in terms of tourism, because if tourists comes to the country, we are the one who drives them to the outskirts and all that, because the public transport is not that effective. So we are the one who are bridging the gap for the government to make, profit from this so-called economy. So at the end of the day, like you rightfully asked, our outgoing president will support men. We have proper measures put in place. We are having our inaugural ceremony on the 17th,
Thursday.
Which is Thursday. Which is Thursday, and we are having it in Gold Coast, where we are going to the new incoming and the outgoing. We are going to have a bigger kind of where other parties will also come in on board to. You want to say something?
Yeah, to add to that, the theme for the ceremony is the role of a car rental in tourism development. One of the challenges also that we need immediate attention is what we call the galamsey operators, the illegal operators, right? If you look at our combined insurance, it's over 10 million. If you take 20 of car rental companies, annual insurance, we borrow from the bank and all that. But then you borrow from the bank, these illegal operators park the cars under the trees and charge anything. They are not trained and all that. So we want government, that's why we are calling for proper classification and then deal with these illegal operators and everyone coming on board and paying, we pay tourism levy, right? So if our research shows that we have 69 registered companies with the association, 75 registered with Ghana Tourism Authority, which is a regulator. 160 companies are operating without any license, which we think
that's staggering.
Exactly,
something that we need to
look at.
But grateful that you've been able to join us. Definitely on Thursday, the team will be there to listening to the conversation. And congratulations as well for winning the elections. I'm sure that the outgoing will be there to support you. Thank you all, gentlemen, for spending some time with us. We're taking a break. When we get back, we'll talk about sports. Please stay. Thanks for staying with us this evening. Vincent Kompany will lead his Burnley side to face his former boss, Pep Guardiola, in the EPL 2023-2024 opener. Many have made predictions, and we'll be bringing all of that to you. We want to start with the massive spending that has taken place so far in the transfer window as the teams actually prepare for battle. Of course, there are some Ghanaians in the EPL, and we'll talk about them as well. In studio with me, I have two experts, I should call them, Daniel Cranting with Joy Sports and Isaac Ofieje with our data and research desk, joining us to look at the season ahead. A lot of excitement. I see so many players here. Someone says, but Saudi is trying to take the shine out of the whole game. So why should we be concerned about this season, Daniel?
The Premier League is the most exciting league in the world. It's not just about the individuals who make up the league. It's the storylines that it consistently draws every single season. And we are obviously going to see another very interesting season ahead of us. And the brilliant thing about the league is that in as much as, yes, one might say Manchester City have bossed it in the past few years, there are still teams in and around that title race almost every single season. For the past, last season we saw Arsenal. For the past, 4 or 5 seasons, we've seen Liverpool and Man City go head to head. And we know that teams are also getting better. The likes of Manchester United are also in there. Newcastle, with the Saudi money, funny enough, are also trying to stake a claim. So Chelsea, it's a Chelsea, yes. I don't mean it, but because you say it,
you have to
and you have the Arsenal fans also coming through and making a statement for them. So many predictions. But Kofi, what's your expectation really going into the season? Just before we get to the predictions, some of the analysis you've been doing on the side as well.
Of course, I bleed blue, so I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm actually anticipating that Manchester United will win, although I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm tipping Man U to win this year's, Premier League. I have my own reasons for tipping Man U to win. But of course, we've also been looking at the data, and you asked why the Premier League is catching all of this attention. Is because of the massive branding and expenditure in this, I'll call it a franchise or a product, where this season, for instance, you have on average a team spending close to 70 million pounds. That's not small money. So the average spending this year is 70 million pounds. You have teams bringing in on average 5 players, and out is around 13 players. And we've been doing some small analysis, looking at the teams spending so much, the disclosed amount. If you look at Arsenal, for instance, they are leading with spending close to 208 million pounds. That's the disclosed amount, followed by Chelsea, 186 million pounds. There's also Manchester United, the team that I'm predicting or tipping to win this year's EPL, 179 million pounds. Chelsea, of course, are also there spending so much. There's Newcastle and Manchester United.
But Daniel, why the clamor for new players and this hike in expenditure? Why are we seeing this?
Look, you can't go into the same season how you finished off. Obviously, everybody wants to improve. And if you want to improve, you have to go out and get quality. And quality is expensive. So that's exactly what we are saying. Now, the interesting thing is also that if you go back to the why the Premier League teams tend to have this financial muscle, you can go back into the TV deal, which is equally spread around and is making teams very financially strong. Because you go back to what Kuvo was talking about, you look at the average spending of a team like West Ham or a Brentford, and it is almost comparable to some of the big teams in other leagues. It just shows you how strong these Premier League teams are financially, and it increases.
And how is that going to trickle down to the league itself and the quality of games that we're likely to see?
It's mathematics. So if quality is spread around equally and everybody is boosting the level of their team in terms of quality, then you expect that the general quality of the game will also increase. And it's just as simple as that. There are a lot of top quality players and managers in the Premier League.
Isaac?
Well, I mean, our government is, also trying to cash in from this, Premier League. I was
just about to come to that in as much as you're about to do some predictions here, those who would be betting must be aware of the same thing that you're talking about.
Of course, there is what we call the 10% withholding tax. Which is starting somewhere, I think 15th August. And
but were they timing the league like us?
Because
just waiting for
this is the peak period where we are starting the league fresh. Everybody wants to try something new, and government also wants to cash in, and then so the success of the league will also depend on the revenue that government will get based on this withholding tax that they are trying to place on.
Okay, so let's break the tax issue down and then we'll look at the predictions, because I'm sure Daniel has an interesting view. You also have yours. You say your bet is on Manchester United. I'll put $1 million on it, but we'll talk about that later.
I'll tell you the odds there.
Anyway, so let's get to the 10%, the impact on the betting that one would do. So if I perhaps stake 100 cities, what will be the percentage after I win? Or, I mean, how is it going to be?
So the withholding tax will be on the amount that you staked with, I guess. So let's say you bet with 100 cities, and then let's say you win, let's say 1,000 cities. The withholding tax will be applied on that 1,000 cities. I think less the 100 cities, because the 100 cities will be the main. So it's more or less like a value-added tax.
Right.
So you went in there with 100
100?
cedis. Now you have 900
Yes.
cedis. So
Coming in.
exactly. So the tax will be applied on that 900 cedis. So that will be the withholding tax. So government will actually be praying and hoping that people win more bets this season so that they can have.
So we need more sophisticated.
Yeah. We need revenue. We need revenue. Now that Bank of Ghana is making losses, we need revenue. The finance ministry needs revenue because they can't go to the Bank of Ghana to borrow since they are doing 0% finance.
So 10%.
10%.
Okay. Now to the game itself and what we're likely to see. Daniel, your bet is on?
Arsenal.
Oh, Arsenal. Okay, so that's good. What's unique about the team this season?
I just feel like they've been on this journey. If you look at the past, 2-3 seasons, they came from first season under Arteta, they were 8th, then they were 8th in the second, then they finished 5th. And it was the season they finished 5th, that was like the defining moment for them. They were very close to breaking into the top 4. They slipped out in the last minute. Then from there, people question their mentality, people question as to whether they'll be able to even fight for a top 4 place. And they did even better by challenging for the title last season, where they just missed out. And if you look at the nitty-gritties of what caused that title collapse, you can put it down on lack of options. Because you look at Manchester City, on the other hand, who beat them, they have probably this season, in terms of strength and depth, they have a top quality team, top quality players who they can call on at any particular moment to change things for them. Arsenal didn't have that. But this time around, Arsenal have gone into the market, they've brought in some quality players, and the squad just looks ready in terms of personnel, ready in terms of mentality and what they've gone through. And I just believe this is the time for them.
No other team?
Yeah, Manchester City will obviously be there, but again, I'm tipping Arsenal again also because Man City have won the treble last season. They've done probably the greatest achievement that any team could do, and it will be very difficult for them to replicate it again this season. That's why I feel they will just fall short.
Okay, here you go. You still have Manchester United in there, so that's quite good news to some of us.
Yeah, I think Man United will finish in 3rd. I don't think they'll challenge the top 2, but they'll be comfortable.
Well, I have a problem with his set position.
Okay,
I feel that Daniel cannot put Chelsea at set. Looking at the investments we've done.
Well, I think he's been gracious to Chelsea. I guess.
I actually have.
Okay, why are you saying that, by the way? And I'll come to you, Isaac. Why are you of the opinion that in spite of the workings by Isaac, you still believe...
For a team that has spent close to £200 million this transfer window alone, a team that has spent over £600 million in the last season, if you look at the individual quality players that they have, it's a very skeletal squad. It's so lean, and one injury can just wreck everything. In fact, their star forward in Coup is already out for 4 months, and that just puts their entire attacking, the focus on it just makes it, totally destroys their plans for the coming season, and it's extremely difficult to see how this Chelsea team is going to be able to get past the likes of the Man U's and the Arsenals. And you see, football, you can't look at teams in isolation. You have to look at it and compare it to what others are doing, and that's just how I see it. And again, football is not about hope, it's science. And if you look at the science, I've been gracious with that 6th position.
Isaac would disagree with you on that.
Well, that's a significant dip there. I feel that Chelsea can move from just 12 to either 3rd or 4th, will actually qualify for top 4 this season based on the investments that we've done and the kind of quality that I sit here and see. We are still...
You notice he said we.
Exactly, because I belong to this team and I love this team, and I'm predicting that Chelsea will finish 4th at least. And Manchester United will finish 1st, Man City probably 2nd.
But what's unique is that as much as you disagree about Chelsea's position, they're still not winning the league. You don't think they can?
No, I don't think Chelsea can win, but anything can happen. This is football, We're all tipping Liverpool or another team to win last year's, EPL, but Manchester City went ahead. They had the strength, the muscle to do that, but we thought that Liverpool was going to do better. And then there were injuries.
What's more serious is that Liverpool is not, that's even a
Yes, I'm not tipping Liverpool to be in because I feel that Liverpool will be new to Europa League. They'll do more of Thursday night travels. It's going to affect them. Already they have, defenders who are injury prone. So Thursday night football plus other, factors going to affect Liverpool, and I am predicting that they will finish somewhere around 7th.
Why this arrangement, and why would you say that Manchester, which featured third, or actually on that of Daniel, will now move all the way to the top? I mean, what calculation are you putting?
Well, I actually see Manchester United when Ten Hag came in. There was some sort of quality brought into the team, and now I see the character, I see the edge, the anger to fight for more. They've done some massive signings and also gotten rid of some deadwoods in the team. They look very dangerous, although people say their preseason hasn't really gone as planned, but I still feel that the likes of Mason Mount and then other players that they brought in, they've spent wisely. And then I feel that Manchester United, with this a fantastic coach in Ten Hag, can finish first.
But then Arsenal fans will definitely disagree with you on that. They feel that even if Manchester United should be on this, they should be very far away, I guess. So as compared to yours, where you're saying they're number 1, they are number 5 on the predictions for an Arsenal fan, such as Fred Smith, the producer of the polls here.
Well, so they are going to this season without an out-and-out striker. I mean, they have injury on their hands. Jesus is not around. I feel if he was present to start the season, that would have been very significant. Mind you, EPL, you do not let go of any chance to build on points. So if you start and you do not start well, that's going to affect the entire
difference
season.
from where they are. Arsenal on top, Manchester United on his list, number 5.
Yeah, I
but it's
that,
closer to what Daniel thinks about Manchester United.
Well, I see different things.
Daniel, you don't believe in Arsenal too?
No, I think Arsenal will win, and that's what I went for. It's just the positions of Newcastle and Manchester United, I think, will switch up. Because Newcastle also are quite new to Champions League football. I don't think they have the squad large enough to be able to take them through the entirety of the season. And they don't have the manager who is experienced enough to balance those two competitions. That's why I feel they'll fall short.
Okay, but I see Newcastle featuring on your list, his list, and that of Fred.
Yeah.
What's unique about the club?
I don't know if Daniel start, but I feel Newcastle, they are very strong. They've brought in, good players. They've strengthened their midfield.
Yeah.
And also, they've also signed players who have experience in the Premier League. So I feel that Newcastle, although they have not really done the rebuild like we all expect, come in with money and buy quality, star players and all of that. They seem to have their own projects in mind where they have their own definition of quality and players that they want to be in their team. And I feel that they're qualifying for UEFA or European League. As Daniel said, this will be their first time. Their manager, I don't think, has any experience in the UCL. So they will be affected, but they will still be very
and in fact, Daniel, some people believe so much in Newcastle that you find the likes of Fentel also going for Newcastle, and not even just in the top 3, but they want Newcastle to win the league itself. That's the prediction from Fentel.
It's a very wild prediction, if you ask me.
But it could happen.
The same way Ghana can win the World Cup. But look, I just feel it's you have to look at this very critically, and what Newcastle did last season. Basically, they were playing without pressure. Nobody expected them to finish in the top 4. So navigating a season like that is quite easier than when expectations come. Now they are in the Champions League, not the Europa League, not the Conference League, but the Champions League, where the likes of Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona are all in there. So this is the first time they are going in there. The team hasn't experienced it before. The manager hasn't experienced it before. The fans have not experienced it in a while. And it is very difficult to balance these competitions because you are playing on a Sunday, you are playing on a Wednesday, and back on a Saturday. And all these competitions require your best teams. And if you don't have a squad large enough with a lot of quality, you will struggle. And a manager who is not experienced also. And I think that's where they are. And I feel they will struggle to balance these competitions.
Okay, so let's wrap up with the issues that may confront in the entire sector as we speak. Because we know that elsewhere, some leagues are making attempts to bring on board more and more of their players. The stars are all moving elsewhere. Do you feel that would affect, the entire league?
I don't think so. In as much as, yes, players have left, players have also come in. They've been able to maintain the main superstars of the league. The guys we saw leave were not necessarily guys you say carry the Premier League. They were on their last legs. If you look at likes of Kante, likes of Henderson, Fabinho didn't have the best of seasons last season. Those guys have gone, yes, but you look at the players in the league as it stands, they are still superstars in there. The biggest stars are still in the league.
Let's look at some more predictions that we have coming through. Of course, this is for Muftar. Muftar indicating that he believes in Manchester City, Manchester United second, Arsenal, Chelsea, and then Liverpool. Then you have Newcastle also featuring on this list. Isaac?
I agree with Muftar because of where he puts Chelsea. I think we have the same arrangement almost, just that he feels that Manchester City is going to win the league. I feel that they will struggle this season a bit because they've lost some quality. But just like you're saying, the Premier League has almost bought the future of football. They have almost all the players currently in the league. They spend close to £2 billion. Even Saudi, that we are saying Saudi has spent, I'm not sure it's even close to £500 million. So the Premier League still have the power to command players to come in. First we did not used to see South Americans coming into the Premier League, but right now it looks as if it's the preferred destination, and they are commanding the future. They have all the young players in the older ones have left to Saudi and other places, so I don't think that the EPL is losing its value to any other.
Okay, more members of the team are predicting what they're on the lookout for. There's another Manchester United. Okay, well, I don't want to call him a supporter, but he believes in Manchester United. This is from David Odro. David, who's also with the team here at Journeys, also predicting Arsenal coming second. Then we have City, Liverpool. Newcastle is just so consistent on everyone's list.
Yeah, but not even Newcastle. I'm wondering how people can... In what world is Man United finishing above Manchester City? It's surprising to me. Very surprising, but yeah, opinions.
Like noses, everyone. Yeah. And then, okay, so he has Tottenham Hotspurs also having featured on his list. Kweku Asante, our parliamentary correspondent, also has this to say about the league. Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham Hotspurs, and Newcastle United, and then Manchester United. I don't expect anything better from Kweku because he's not going to support Manchester United. I know.
In fact, he's an alien to this league. He supports Barca. He should be predicting about La Liga, and this is not his.
Okay, he's interested because, he needs to stake a bet and see if the 10% will apply on all of that. So we wrap up with one more one that's coming through. You have Gary L. Smith, Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, City, United is back on the list again. Okay. So sad. Yes. Chelsea is number 6 on this list.
Well, man.
It's a sad day for Chelsea.
The frequency doesn't look good for us, but I'm happy that Manchester United is featuring in this, permutation.
Yeah, because you believe that Manchester United.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We all believe that, Daniel?
No, I don't.
Definitely. So thanks guys for joining us. That's all we have for you in this package of the polls. Blessed to go and log on to myjoyonline.com. More stories there for you.